Alpha Females, it's Katie Freeman. Thank you so much for tuning back in for another week of the pod. I hope everybody had a good week, and let's just get right on into it. Let's talk about graduating and what to expect as an alumna member of your sorority. I graduated, now what? So let's talk about how it's really not just 4 years. A lot of the women who go through sorority really do think that it is just during college years, but that could not be further from the truth. If you want it to be, sorority can be a part of your life for the rest of your life, if you so choose. It is all up to you. You are definitely in the driver's seat on whether or not you want to stay involved as an alumna. And it really just depends on the kind of post-grad experience you want to have. So if you are super involved in the sorority in college and you feel like you got your money's worth, your time's worth out of the experience in college, that's fantastic. You can absolutely replicate that experience when you are post-grad as an alumna. There are alumni chapters all around, no matter the sorority. Any Panhellenic sorority will have most likely at least one chapter nearby that is an alumna chapter that you can get involved with. If there is not a nearby alumna chapter, you can also get involved as a collegiate advisor. If there is a nearby university or college that has a chapter of your sororities on it, I highly encourage you to reach out to their collegiate alumni advisor board and reach out, let them know who you are, let them know that you are interested in getting involved again. They will welcome you with open arms. I have never met a college chapter that didn't need some kind of alumni assistance, whether it's as an advisor or just as a supporter. A lot of chapters do need help during the recruitment time, so I highly recommend you reach out to the chapter advisor of the college chapter, get in touch, let them know your availability, and I'm sure that they will pull you in where they can. Let them know what you'd be willing to help out with, whether it's, cleaning dishes in between parties or helping gather lunch supplies for the girls during recruitment days. Recruitment costs a lot of money, and any monetary donation will always be welcome just to help offset the costs for these young women. As a matter of fact, I recently donated a couple items, some supplies for my alumni. So it's my chapter that I was in as a collegian. So I guess my alma mater is what I would call it. They needed some items for their recruitment parties that are coming up in the spring. And they asked the local alumni to pitch in and help donate a couple items. So I was happy to help. And the reason why I knew about this is because, number one, I'm my alumni chapter president. However, I'm also involved in my Collegian Chapter's alumni Facebook group. So they post, the current collegian advisors will post whenever the college chapter needs assistance in any kind of way. So that's another way to get involved and to give back a little bit. Another way you can get involved at a collegiate chapter is to become an advisor. Now, some chapters allow their advisors to serve virtually, so you don't actually have to go in for in-person meetings. But in this capacity, you're still going to be in contact with the collegian who is holding the particular office. You would sign yourself up for, I think it would start in January, and then I think it ends in December. That's typically when officerships turn over. I could be wrong. It could be in the summertime, but at least where I went to school, it was January to December. But essentially, each officer is going to have different needs, whether it's just bouncing ideas off of you or getting your perspective on how to send an e-blast for an event coming up. It really just depends on the kind of officer that you support. Another way you can get involved is to obviously join an alumni chapter. This is a less intense commitment than you may think. I think a lot of women get a little overwhelmed when they think about how much it was to be an active member of their college sorority. And that is very true. It was a lot of work, right? It requires, weekly meetings and going to multiple events every single week, keeping your grades up, making sure if you have a position in the cabinet or leaders council, you have multiple responsibilities, potentially committees to deal with. It's a lot. Alumni life is nothing like that if you don't want it to be. If you want to join an alumni chapter just as a member, that is perfectly fine. And what a lot of chapters do is just have, a monthly or bi-monthly meeting or outing that they coordinate for their members. The level of commitment in an alumni chapter is nowhere near as intense. That is just the point I want to really drive home, because again, you're going to get out what you put in. And if you do want to take on an officer position, that is totally encouraged. And as a matter of fact, if you were not able to hold a leadership role that was meaningful to you in college, now is the time to really flex your skills and get involved again and get the experience that you wanted. I know for me, I wanted to be more involved in college. However, I held two positions. One was cabinet, one was leaders council. So cabinet is not less important. However, it's less intense of a position. Leaders council would meet weekly, and we had to give a report every week of our activities, what progress we'd made. So it was a very much more intense experience to be on leaders council. However, I think at one point I wanted to run for the more high-level officerships. I, at one point, wanted to run for president. However, thank goodness I didn't get that. I think I was talked out of it because I didn't really quite realize how much work it would be. I think I just thought, oh, that sounds fun. Let's do that. Plus, my mom had also been her chapter president, and she spoke very positively about her experience. My dad was his chapter's president when he was in college. So I just thought, oh, well, I'm going to be the collegiate chapter president when I'm going to go through it. Well, thankfully that did not pan out. And I'm really glad it didn't, because, again, I don't think I really realized how much work it was going to be, especially while you are trying to maintain a positive GPA that'll keep you in the sorority. If you are in a relationship, navigating a relationship in college is very difficult. Just the amount of things that you're involved in college is so much more intense than it will be when you are an alumna. When you are an alumna, usually when you first get out of college, you are, living on your own. You don't have a family yet. You're just getting your footing in your career. You're figuring out your career. And you're just trying to network. You're trying to build your network and grow your, circle of friends, circle of influence. And sorority can definitely help influence your inner circle. If you go to the monthly or bi-monthly events that your alumni chapter puts on, every one of those events is a networking opportunity. If you think about it, a lot of the members in my alumni chapter are teachers. And so whenever we get together, it's so fun to listen to them all kind of commiserate and talk about what their districts are doing, how it's working out, any unions that they're part of. They speak about any issues that they're having currently, and they can give each other advice. And if I were a teacher, I would absolutely value that experience and that camaraderie that you get with fellow sisters who are in the same field as you. And, it may be the instance where you are in a field that nobody else is in your alumni chapter. That's okay. All the women in your alumni chapter are going through similar life events, whether it's, losing a parent or getting married or having kids or not having kids, going into grad school, whatever it may be. They likely will have, some empathy for what you're going through. And that's really what it comes down to, is the level of support that you felt while in college does not have to end in college. And you know what? The real world is scary and it's hard. And I think that has been one of the most invaluable parts of being part of my alumni chapter, for at least, is feeling like I'm not going through life alone. Now, let's say you want to get more involved as an alumna, as a leader. The way you would go about that is you would look up your sorority's website and look up who the network directors are for your particular region. Those leaders will be able to connect you with someone in their network who can talk to you more about the opportunities that they have and what leadership roles they need filled. I know my sorority has specific networks that are broken down by area of the country, and they are always needing help in some capacity, whether it's recruiting related, membership education, all kinds of things. So they will take volunteers where they can get them. And if that is something that interests you, getting involved in a more national kind of setting, then yes, absolutely reach out to your network directors. And similar to how you can get involved in a national capacity, it's also another avenue to get involved in their philanthropy. So if you feel like you really connected with the philanthropy that your sorority sponsors, then you can absolutely, volunteer for that same philanthropy when you are an alumna. And you can also get involved with the sorority's foundation. A lot of sororities have their own foundation, and it usually will benefit some scholarships for sisters. There is an emergency fund that my sorority fundraises for through the foundation for sisters who fall on hard times. So they can call on this fund. They can apply to get some financial assistance if they are in a bind. That is always an option for you to get involved with if it's fundraising or serving on a board or being an ambassador for the foundation. There are lots of opportunities for you to explore in that capacity. So that wraps up this week's episode of Alpha Female. Thank you so much for tuning back in. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you have any questions about sorority life, feel free to send an email to alphafemalepod@gmail.com. Be sure to rate 5 stars wherever you listen to this podcast. I hope everybody has a great weekend ahead, and I will talk to you next week. Alpha Females, take care.